What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be introducing what may be the only operating system you may ever need for your single board computer. This operating system is one of my favorite operating systems to start with, and it's really not an operating system technically. It's a series of scripts that can convert a Raspbian or Debian into a Dietpi. But you can download Dietpi images already set up, so you won't need to do much work at all. And what's awesome about it is it's supported by so many different single board computers. As you can see, there's a ton of options here. So if you have a Raspberry Pi, you can also grab that. This goes for 2, 3, and 4 versions. This one is for Pi 5. And you also have options for a Pine 64 single board computer, a few different options there. You can even put it on a Pinebook. So if you've ever wanted to run your own Nextcloud, which is very easy to set up on this, and I'm going to show you all of the different software that you're going to have available to automate the entire setup of. So that's what makes it so exciting. It really streamlines the process of setting up various types of servers and other things, including Pihole. So if you have an interest in setting up your own Pihole server, you can definitely check that out. What I'm opening now is dietpi-software command. This is where we're going to find all of the software. Now, after I run through some of the features, I'm going to tell you how you can download it and set it up on your single board computer. And it's a really easy process. So even if you're a first-time Linux user, this is something you can handle, and just follow along with the video. First off, though, I'm kind of skipping ahead because I really want to show you some of the software that you can have right out of the box set up for you. Dietpi will take care of the rest. So let's go ahead and take a look at the software that we may want to check out. So let's check out Dietpi's software list, and we'll go ahead and browse that now. So what's cool about it is you can simply select these and say I want to set up a desktop or a server. Maybe I want to have all in one. Now, for security reasons, I wouldn't recommend that. Really, it's more ideal to have a server in isolation, have a server act as solely a server, because every new thing you set up becomes a liability, be that servers, and you don't want to add servers unnecessarily to your desktop because you're only adding extra doors that people can potentially enter. So let's go ahead and just talk about some of these software options and what they can do for you. So here we see LXDE. This is a really lightweight desktop. Now Mate, that's one of my favorites. It's a really lightweight desktop, so if you have a single board computer you want to turn into, say, a desktop, Mate may be a good option. Even lighter, we have XFCE. That's actually what I'm running right now. And as you note, I'm on a Debian operating system at the moment. It's actually kick secure, so it's a converted Debian. Make sure to check out my previous video if you want to learn how to set up a hardened Debian operating system. And so once you get your single board computer, you can burn the Dietpi image. So we'll go over here and you can pick the brand of your single board computer. Let's say we had a Pine 64. Now, the good news is, no matter what you have, the process is generally the same. So you're going to burn it to an SD card, a micro SD card, and then you'll insert it into your single board computer. Now after that, you'll go through the basic setup for the documentation. It's really easy to do, and if you want to get started, go to Getting Started. Now the initial start will look like this. So when you first have it burned, you're going to SSH in, or you can use something like an HDMI cord to attach it to your television or monitor if you have one. And then of course you can use a USB keyboard to type in everything. Or if you're familiar enough, you can use SSH and you can just SSH into it, and from there you have the option to take a look at all this wonderful software and setups that are completely automated. And that's really what makes it special. Compared to other options for your single board computer, this is going to allow you to build something that could be an all-in-one if you really wanted it to be, or it could be just a Pihole. It could be even a Tor router. So isn't that cool? You can even automate the setup of a Tor router, a Wi-Fi router that Torifies all of your connections through the Tor network. Now, of course, I always recommend you use Tor browser. So if you're going to use Tor, use something like Tails or use something like Whonix to basically set some extra safety in your environment. Now, you can use the Torified Wi-Fi router if you want to use something like end-to-end encrypted messengers. In that way, you're still using best practices in that you are using an application that happens to be automatically Torified through the Tor network. So you can even turn into a Tor Relay. So if I were to use my spacebar, which is the key you're going to use to select the ones you like. So if you want to go ahead and set up an ADSB feeder, so you may want to track airplanes with your SDR, really excited about Dietpi because I think it really helps a lot of people set up things, saving them thousands of hours potentially. So we could set up a Tor Relay by selecting that. We could go through and set up other servers as well. Say we want a Tor Relay. Well, if you're doing a Tor Relay, once again, I feel a need to give advice there. You're going to want to make it just a Tor Relay. Of course, for safety and security purposes, it's better to run Tor Relay just as a Tor Relay, in my opinion. And you can go ahead and select as many different things as you want. Now, what's nice about it is if you select one of these, all the packages it needs are automatically installed and set up for you. Of course, there may be some initial default login set up, things like that, but it really does automate nearly everything for you. So if you want to get started with a single board computer today, this is what you're going to want to check out. Dietpi is perfect for you and perfect for nearly anyone. So we can go down and past the desktop utilities. We can go and we can actually go and look for some of the other options. Here we go. Tor Hotspot. Now this is what you'll want to do if you want to set up your own Torified Wi-Fi router. Go ahead and select a Wi-Fi hotspot. That's going to allow it to open a Wi-Fi network for you to connect to, and that will route all your traffic through the internet. Now if you want to go a step further, you want to turn it into a Torified Wi-Fi hotspot. You then select this. Now at this point we can go ahead and go down to confirm if we want to install it, but we could continue looking through some of these applications, and maybe you want to try something like WireGuard. You could go through something like that as well. Here you go, Pihole. You can have a Pihole, and you can even use Unbound, which is your own little recursive DNS server. So that adds another layer of safety for you. So at this point, we've selected a few things. It also offers Nextcloud. So if you want to install Nextcloud, you can also do that. You can set up as many things as you want as long as the software and servers do not conflict with one another. Say shared ports or other types of shared services. As long as there's no conflicts, you can mix and match as many things as you like. Then once you're done selecting what you want, go ahead and hit confirm. And at this point, we can see that it even warns you when something does conflict. So a Tor hotspot can't be installed with a Tor Relay. Now that's just good practice. So we're going to go ahead and disable the actual Tor Relay part, because I wanted to just show you how to set up your own Torified Wi-Fi router, and I'm just doing it on the base of how to use Dietpi. I'm not going to be going through all the security enhancements that you might want to add. Maybe at a later date, we'll see. Now you can also set up Nextcloud, as I mentioned right here, Nextcloud. If you want to do that, Nextcloud, that would be a great option if you want to run your own cloud server. And you can even set up something like GOGS, so you can have your own Git server as well. So many different things you can do, but like I mentioned, for security reasons, I do recommend not mixing and matching too many different types of servers and client operations, just because of the fact that the more things you have, the more liabilities you create. So we're going to go ahead and disable the entire Tor Relay part. so many different great applications and servers that you can set up and run right from your house. And the most private way to run a server is self-hosting it yourself. So Dietpi is a great place to start there. And then you can go into it and you can harden it however you like from there on. So you can also take advantage of other things in that way. So Tor Relay is not selected. Good, because what we're going to actually install for this example is the Tor Hotspot, and we're going to have a Wi-Fi hotspot, and that will automatically torify any applications I run on a computer that connects to it. So this can help prevent IP leakage. Now, what does this relate to? It actually relates to the actual Whonix setup, because what Whonix actually is it actually is a basic Tor router and workstation setup. It's virtual machines that set up a network that basically mimics a torified Wi-Fi hotspot in a way, which could be an Ethernet based as well. Basically, the entire thing is just go through the process, and once you select the ones you want, you can go ahead down to the bottom and hit install. So good to read what it says. Dietpi is ready to install, Tor Hotspot and Certbot, which we didn't need, but I'm just going through this to show you guys as an example. So we'll have a nice torified Wi-Fi hotspot that will allow us to torify any devices we own and have every application that runs on them completely torified. So if you want your phone, your Wi-Fi on your phone to be completely torified, well, setting up something like this is an easy way to force route everything through the Tor network. But keep in mind your phone also has a cellular modem. So you want to ensure if you're doing something like that, you could turn on something like airplane mode and disable the cellular modem just to ensure there's no outside connections. But it shouldn't happen anyway. As long as you have a good Wi-Fi connection, you should be routing everything through Wi-Fi. But this goes for any of your devices. Once you go through this, you're going to be able to connect to it with Wi-Fi and have everything automatically torified. It's a really great option if you want to use something like end-to-end encrypted messengers, and you can also use other things as well, of course, anything you want really. And if you're worried about leaking your IP address on a normal Tor browser, if you're able to use Tor browser with this, you're going to have a double connection through the Tor network, which of course Tor does not recommend, and it may not be as straightforward as you think because of this, but there are ways. As you can see right here, it's installing the Wi-Fi hotspot package, which is based on HostAPD, and you're going to find the configuration files in your /etc/hostapd directory, and you can change your Wi-Fi password right in there. If you open that section, you'll be able to change your Wi-Fi password very easily just editing that file, and then what you'll do after that is you'll run this command. After you edit the /etc/hostapd/hostapd.config file, you're going to look for the password line, change that. Anytime you do that, you'll then enter system control restart hostapd, and that's going to restart and reload the Wi-Fi hotspot with the new configuration options you set. So anytime you want to change your Wi-Fi access point, you're simply going to edit that file as mentioned a moment ago, and then you're going to run the systemctl restart hostapd, and it's going to reload all of those changes that you make. So it's as easy as that to make simple changes, like you can change the network name inside that file, you can change the password, you can change the channel. So everything is at your disposal in this, and it's a super easy way to get yourself a nice torified Wi-Fi router in your own home and without having to pay for a product. So Dietpi is an excellent option, and if you can and you enjoy Dietpi, I always recommend supporting Dietpi. There are options there on the site, so you can find out if you want to send a donation, if you get a lot out of it. Always a great thing to do to show that you appreciate something is just a small donation, just something, an acknowledgement that you really appreciate the hard work that went into this. It is a big project to keep up with. I mean, they're always adding new things, and it is a great starting point for anyone, especially Linux beginners. Now, of course, you could set up all these things in a Raspbian or another operating system on your single board computer, but you're going to spend a ton of time doing so. So at this point, we can check and make sure our access point is running with system control status hostapd. Now we can see it is already ready for access. Now, I'm not going to pull down my Wi-Fi list, just because I don't want to reveal the nearby networks, which will reveal my exact location, but you get the drift. At this point, we already have a TORIFIED Wi-Fi router. Really cool, right? Well, you can get started with it very easily. All you need to do is burn it to a microSD card, and after you do that, you can go through the docs and the basic setup in the README, and once you finish that, just open up Dietpi software, and you'll be back at that menu where I found it, and go to the browse software as I just showed you, go down to the actual Tor hotspot and the Wi-Fi router, and you're automatically going to have a TORIFIED Wi-Fi router. And as you can see, so many other amazing things that you can select here, but that's as easy as it is. Very easy to do. And if you ever want to check out any other configuration options, especially for new Linux users who aren't familiar with the command line, check out the dietpi-config. Now, when you go here, you can go through a ton of different options here. You can set your regional language, and you can go up and go through your display and set up all of the different hardware things. You can even go in advanced options. You can set up your I2C, you can do SPI, set that on or off. You can check out serial devices. You can go and manage those devices. You can turn them on. Say you want to do something like I showed before with a serial cable. You might want to go through some of these, and it's really easy to do with Dietpi, and that's what makes it so awesome. Then you can go and just change your network options if you want. You can go into your tools, you can check out benchmarks, you can see how your single board computer is running, and just check out how your microSD card might be with the file system benchmarks. You can do a stress testing, so checking out what the condition of your hardware is in and what it's capable of, and you can change those settings as well. So you can make it run slower just to save your hardware longer, make it a long-lasting hardware, so longevity. I would recommend slowing down your processor when it's not needed for something like that. Just do something like a balanced setting. So it's that easy. You've already got yourself a TORIFIED Wi-Fi hotspot, and it only took us a few minutes to do the setup. Now, if you're ever having problems with the Tor part, say your connections aren't going through, you may want to restart the Tor service as well. So you can do restart Tor, and that'll restart the Tor service like that. Simple as that. Then you can even go into journal control, check out how your Tor is actually running, and you can see that it is connected, it is finished, started, stopped, and you can get some extra details as well with some other flags. So that's it. That's how easy it is to set up your own TORIFIED Wi-Fi hotspot using Dietpi. Perfect idea for the channel, I thought, and I've really wanted to cover Dietpi for a while now, and I thought this would be a perfect place to start because people are always interested in setting up TORIFIED Wi-Fi routers, and at this point in the channel, I wanted to share that with you guys, and I'm always, sharing ideas and easy ways to do things that I think can help people, and I know there are new people to Linux following this channel, so I wanted to make sure to cover something that was really friendly for those people as well. I didn't forget about you, and so once you want to get Dietpi on your single board computer, you want to follow the process I just showed you. Well, then, of course, you can go over to installation first and just read the easy directions, and it breaks down everything for you. So the first thing you're going to want to do is download the Dietpi image. So right there, you'll pick your single board computer. Then you're going to simply first, we're going to go over there and we're going to download it from the download section. So I'm just going to look that up real quick. Download Dietpi. Now, here's where we're going to download it, right here on the download button. Trying to see if I have another one. Oh, I do have the Rock 64, so I'm going to do that. But like I mentioned, the process is all the same. But I am excited to get started with my Rock 64. So let's go ahead and do it. Let's download it. First off, we're going to download it, then we're going to burn it. After we download it, we're going to do that right here. And it should download not that long. It's almost halfway there. So once you download it, next thing you're going to do, at a minimum, if you don't do the PGP, you're going to go ahead and at least do the checksum check, and that's what I'm going to cover real quick. So what we're downloading now is both the image and the checksum. So the checksum is going to use a cryptographic hash to verify the exact contents of the file. It's not going to be changed if you rename that file. This is comparing it using cryptography, just checking bit by bit that it is an exact copy of what you downloaded. And this is to ensure that you haven't undercurred a man-in-the-middle attack. So if you have a man-in-the-middle attack, those checksums aren't going to match. So that's a good thing. But I should mention, if you can ever find that checksum on another server, that's the smart way to do your checksum checking. Because if you're downloading from the same server that supplies the checksums, an attacker could have replaced both files. I feel a need to mention that, but you know, in this instance, there isn't an option for another server. And as you can see, this is going to match up with this file. So this is going to be the output of our checksum check. This stuff is really easy to do, so don't be confused by any terminology. If you're a new Linux user, very easy to do. We can go to downloads at this point, then we can list. Okay, we have that file. Now, what we note is up here it says SHA-256. Now, how are we going to check that? If you're not familiar with checking checksums, it's really easy to do. Then what we're going to do is, and that is as easy as that, SHA-256 sum, and then the file name while you're inside that directory. And if you're not sure what directory you're in, you can find that out very easily with pwd. There we go. And I'm planning on doing more Linux beginner videos as well mixed in, because I do know there is a large group that are following this channel that are new to Linux. So I want to try and mix this kind of content in from time to time, intermixed with the other content I do here. And what we can see now is a good thing. Our checksums match. So we see the output shows BBF, B32, etc., etc. Up here, what do we see? BBF, B32, etc., etc. Same exact hash, so we know that our files are the exact ones we wanted to download. At least they match the file for the checksum hash, which is provided right here. As long as they match, you're safe to burn it. So let's go ahead and extract it. Using unxz dietpi, and at that point you can press the tab key. The tab key is actually going to auto-complete your command for you. So if you ever have run a long command or you have a long file name as we see here, you can automate that by allowing it to fill it in for you just by starting off the word something like DI, and then I hit the tab key, and look at that, we have it all typed out. So that's another beginner Linux tip that's really helpful to people. And at this point we now have the actual image. What we want to do next is insert our microSD card, And at that point, we can then LSBLK to see all of our detected devices. As we see, I have MMC BLK0. Now all of these devices are in the /dev directory. That's the device directory. So anytime you attach a piece of hardware, it's going to be found there. Anytime you need to interact with it on the command line or otherwise, it's going to be in the /dev directory. Now what we're going to use for burning this is we're going to use the dd command. That's the command I enjoy using. So at this point, I can use the dd command. I want to do if, which is input file, and our input file is Dietpi. Now, our input file is Dietpi, and our output file, which is of equals, will be the device which has our microSD card. And as I just mentioned, it shows up right here. Now, one simple trick you can use to detect a new device you're inserting is run LSBLK before you insert it, and then run it after you insert that device. And what you'll do then is you'll simply check the difference. If a new device shows up on the second time after you insert it, that would be your device. This is very important because if you enter the wrong device, you could end up overwriting your entire disk, and you definitely don't want to do that if it's your desktop. So let's go ahead and run this command. It's dd input file equals if equals and then of equals for the device /dev/mmc blk0. We're not going to go with these. These are actually the partitions that were detected. May not show up on yours. All depends if it's been partitioned already. Now if any of this doesn't make sense, don't worry, just watch what I'm doing and follow along, and this should work just the same for you. So let's go ahead and run this. You can also do status equals progress. We can also add some other flags, but these aren't necessary. The main thing I want you to pay attention to is the input file equals the Dietpi. The of equals means output file equals, and that's going to be sent to /dev/mmc blk0 because it is our micro SD card. So everything in Linux is a file, as you might have heard, so we're interacting with what are files on the Linux system. The device, the micro SD card, has become a file we can interact with. Now we can press the enter command, and it's going to go ahead and it's going to burn our copy of Dietpi to the micro SD card. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do our first boot on our single board computer. Now I might not go through that on this video. So at this point it's already burning it to our micro SD card, and it's doing that using the dd command. And after it's done, we'll be able to insert it in our micro SD card, and then we'll be able to log in for the first time. We're skipping ahead because we're not using Etcher. I use the dd command because that's just what I'm used to using, but you can go ahead and try Etcher if you're not comfortable with the command line. So it's really easy. The main thing you're going to do is you're going to end up either using the default. Here's the default credentials. If you insert it right into your single board computer, you're going to use this as your login root, and the password is Dietpi. Now, if you want to change that before you do the first boot, you can edit a file in the boot directory /boot/dietpi.txt, and inside there you have the option of changing this to something. So if you have a problem logging in, make sure to check that file, and it'll reveal the default password inside it. Then it's going to ask if you want to be part of a survey, and what that means is if you don't mind if they collect some generic, not with your name, not with your IP address, but it helps them with the development of Dietpi. It's completely optional, so if you're really concerned about your privacy and you don't want any kind of data analytics going out, well then just opt out of it. It's really easy to do, and it'll purge the data. So after this, it's going to allow you to change your password, and that's what you got. There's a great setup, and it's as easy as that. Once you've gone through this initial setup, you can then go into your Dietpi box, and you can then go to Dietpi config to go ahead and check out some of your configuration options there. You can use the escape key to go back as well. So we can go into the performance, and if we want to save our single board computer's hardware life, one thing you might want to do is change the CPU. So you could add it to go, on demand, conservative. So this limits your CPU. What this means is it's going to really take the pressure off your single board computer. So if you want something to last longer, you might want to limit it, but keep in mind if you're running a heavy server, you're probably going to want to at least go with on demand, and that's going to allow it to use more CPU frequency when a higher CPU frequency when it needs it. So that's a good option to stick with. After you do that, you can go through the initial Dietpi software, just like we showed earlier. So I've already gone through the installation. Now we're connected to the new Dietpi Torified Wi-Fi hotspot. The setup is incredibly easy. All you need to do is download Dietpi, burn it to a disk after checking to ensure that the checksums match, and after that you boot it up in the default logins, enter that either by SSH or by using an HDMI cord and your television or monitor. Now, once you've connected to the Torified Wi-Fi hotspot that Dietpi sets up for you, does all the work for you, saves a ton of time, because otherwise you're going to be doing all these firewall rules manually. So this is a really quick way to get started to set up your own Torified Wi-Fi hotspot. And as you can see, my IP address right here is this, which happens to be a Tor exit node. And if we go over here, we can see a DNS leak test site. This is something I do recommend using anytime you set up a Torified browser of any kind, because you want to ensure that the DNS is not leaking the sites that you're trying to visit. So if I didn't proxy it properly, let's say I set up a SOCKS proxy to use Tor. Now, if I wasn't proxying the DNS settings, for example, if I go into, you don't need to do this if you followed this video, but I'm showing you what can go wrong if you do another setup. So the reason we use this Torified Wi-Fi hotspot is it automates the entire process for you, similar to how the Whonix workstation and gateway work together to prevent different types of leakage. The Wi-Fi hotspot forces everything through Tor only. And if I were to set up a Tor proxy instead, and I did a SOCKS proxy 127.0.0.1 and then did 9050, if I didn't proxy the DNS, which is this right here, that would leak the DNS requests. I'm not going to do that. I'm setting it to no proxy because I'm already Torified, all by just connecting to the simple Wi-Fi hotspot. So it does all the work for you, and it helps prevent those leaks for you. So this can be a perfect option if you want to use an end-to-end encrypted messenger, say a Flatpak or something that doesn't support proxy settings and doesn't work well with Tor SOCKS. This would be a perfect option for you. So any devices you connect to this Wi-Fi hotspot are going to automatically have all their traffic Torified. Nothing can go outside of the Tor network if it's connected to this particular hotspot. So it's as easy as that. You download Dietpi, you set it up as I showed in the earlier video, and after that you can check your IP address. If you open an application, whatever application you open is going to go through the Tor network. And also, the DNS is important. Now, thankfully, on this Torified Wi-Fi hotspot, it already takes care of the proper proxying of the DNS requests through the Tor network. And we can test for this and ensure for no leaks by hitting something like standard test on dnsleaktest.com. Now, what you're looking for is you want to ensure that your actual DNS that you have set up in your home is not the servers being shown. What you should be seeing is the DNS servers that the exit node is using, and that ensures that you're not leaking your DNS requests to another server. So that is it. We have it, and it's all set up, and it's working great. And it was very easy to do, and now you can torify all your devices at home. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you guys soon. Let me know what you think about this video in the comments, and make sure to check out the blog. There's a new one on I2P, http://righttoprivacy.i2p. I also share posts and videos there in a more private way for people who are concerned about their privacy, but also the other ClearNet blog is bmc.link/politictech/posts. So it's up to you which one you want to visit. Make sure to leave a comment, share this video with everyone, help the channel out. Sharing videos is a great way to support this. And if you want to buy me a coffee sometime, you always can. That's an option. But what I appreciate most is people who repost these videos, really a big help. And your comments, really look forward to reading them. And let me know what you think about this. Did you get this set up? Has it worked for you? Does it not work? Are you having trouble? Leave a comment below and let me know some feedback on this, and I'll be back later with more on how to protect your security and privacy.